Hello and welcome back to the Deep Dive. I am so glad you are here with us today.
Yes, welcome everyone. We have a really special one for you today.
We really do.
Yeah.
Because usually, we dive into history or maybe science, but today we are doing something a little bit different. Today we are talking about the future.
And not just any future, we are talking about your future, our future.
Exactly. We are looking at a topic that is just everywhere right now. You see it on the news, you see it on social media, you probably hear your friends talking about it at dinner.
Oh, for sure. It is inescapable. We are talking about technology,
Hmm.
specifically artificial intelligence.
Right, AI. It is a huge topic. And I think for many people, it brings up a mix of two very different feelings. And it is exciting because it is so new.
Yeah, but if we're being completely honest, it is also a little bit scary.
I think scary is the exact right word for a lot of people. When things change very fast, it's completely normal to feel worried.
It really is.
So our mission today is to stop the worry and start understanding. We are going to look at a fascinating conversation from our source material today. It is a discussion between two analysts, Simon and Mia.
Right. And Simon and Mia, they were discussing a very serious article. It had a very dramatic title. It was called The 2028 Global Intelligence Crisis and the AI Economy.
Wow, the 2028 Global Intelligence Crisis. That really sounds like the title of a science fiction movie, doesn't it?
It really does sound like a movie. But the great thing is, Simon and Mia did a fantastic job of taking that big, scary title and breaking it down.
Breaking it down into simple pieces.
Exactly. They explained what this all means for our money, our jobs, and our daily lives.
And that is exactly what we are going to do for you today. We know that many of you listening are learning English, or maybe you just want a really clear explanation without all that confusing business jargon.
Right. Nobody likes confusing business jargon. So we are going to be your guides today.
We are going to take our time, we will speak clearly, we will stop to explain the difficult words when they come up.
Because we want you to understand the ideas, but we also want you to learn the actual vocabulary so you can talk about these ideas yourself.
Exactly. So let us start at the very beginning. To understand the whole problem, we have to understand the tool first. The source article is all about AI. So basic question first, what actually is AI?
It is the perfect place to start. In the source material, Simon gives a very clear, simple definition. AI stands for artificial intelligence.
Artificial intelligence,
Yeah.
okay. But what does that actually mean in simple English?
Basically, it refers to smart computers.
Smart computers, like a calculator.
Well, no, not quite. A calculator is a computer, and it can do math. But a calculator cannot write a poem, right?
That is true. My calculator definitely cannot write poetry.
Right. So AI refers to computers that can do tasks that traditionally only a human brain could do.
Okay, I see. Like what kind of tasks?
Things like reading a long document and understanding the meaning, or writing an email to your boss. Yeah, or solving a really complex problem, or even recognizing a human face in a photograph. When a machine does those human things, we call it AI.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. It is a tool that thinks, or at least it acts like it is thinking.
Exactly.
Now, usually when humans invent new tools, everyone is happy. Like if I get a new dishwasher, I'm very happy because I do not have to wash dishes anymore.
That is a great point.
So why were Simon and Mia so worried in their discussion? What is the problem?
That is the big question. The worry is not about the tool itself. The worry is about what the tool replaces.
Ah,
And this brings us to the main problem in the source material. Jobs.
jobs.
Yes.
This is the part that makes everyone very nervous.
Yes, it is. The article argues that because AI is getting so smart and getting smart so fast, it is going to start doing the work that humans used to do.
I see.
But, and this is very important for us to understand today, it is not taking every single kind of job. It is focused on a specific type of work. The source calls this white-collar work.
Okay, let us stop there for a minute. White collar. I see this phrase in English newspapers all the time. It is a very common idiom. But it is a little strange if you really think about it. Are we talking about fashion here?
It does sound like fashion, but it is actually a historical term. In the past, if you think about the early 1900s, people who worked in offices usually wore shirts with white collars.
No, I see. Because they sat at desks.
Right. They sat at desks, they had meetings, so they had to keep their shirts clean.
And what about the people who did not work in offices?
Well, the people who worked in factories or the people who built roads or fixed cars, they wore darker clothes, often blue denim.
Because the dirt would not show as much on blue denim.
Exactly. So we call those physical jobs blue-collar jobs.
Okay, so just to be super clear, white collar means office jobs.
Yes. Accountants, writers, computer programmers, lawyers, data analysts, basically people who sit at a computer to do their work.
That is really interesting because usually, when we watch movies about the future, we always see robots taking the blue-collar jobs. We see robots building cars or carrying heavy boxes.
Yes, but that is the old way of thinking about the future, and that is what makes this new AI situation so different.
How so?
Well, Simon and Mia point out that the physical jobs, the blue-collar jobs, are actually quite safe right now, like the plumber fixing your sink or the nurse helping a patient in a hospital.
Because robots are not very good at fixing sinks yet.
Exactly. The physical world is hard for robots. But the thinking jobs, those white-collar office jobs, those are the ones at risk.
Because the AI lives in the computer already.
You got it.
But why? Why would a company replace a human with a computer program? Is it just because the computers are smart?
No, it comes down to basic business logic. Companies exist to make money. And to make money, they want to be as efficient as possible. They want to do things faster and cheaper.
Okay, I understand faster and cheaper.
Let us imagine you own a big company. You need a big report written. A human employee needs a salary. They need health insurance. They need a physical desk in an office.
And they need a computer to type on.
Right. And then it takes them maybe 3 days to write the report.
And they need lunch breaks and coffee breaks.
Oh, definitely coffee breaks. Humans are actually very expensive to employ.
Sure.
Now, imagine an AI program. It costs almost nothing. It does not need a desk. It does not need coffee. And it writes that same report in about 3 seconds.
Wow. When you explain it exactly like that, the choice for the company seems very obvious. They are going to choose the AI.
Yes, they are. And that leads to a specific action that Simon and Mia discussed a lot. The companies start to lay off their workers.
Lay off. Let us pause here. This is a phrasal verb that is extremely important for our listeners to understand. We hear layoff in the news constantly.
Yes, it is very common. To lay off someone means that a company stops employing a worker. Basically, the person loses their job.
Now, is that the exact same thing as being fired?
No, it is not. And this is a very important distinction in English business culture. If you are fired, it is personal. It means you did something bad.
Like what?
Maybe you were late to work every single day. Maybe you stole money. Or maybe you were just really bad at your job. Being fired is basically your fault.
Okay, I understand. So being fired is a punishment.
Correct. But if you are laid off, it is not your fault at all.
Really?
Really. You could be the best worker in the entire company. You could be incredibly hardworking and smart. But the company just says, we do not need this job anymore because we have a computer program that does it now. Or maybe they just say, we do not have enough money to pay you.
Honestly, that feels almost worse. In a way, it feels very unfair.
It is very difficult emotionally for people. And in the context of our source article, Simon and Mia are suggesting that millions of people might be laid off. Not because they are bad workers, but simply because the new software is cheaper.
Okay, so I want to play the devil's advocate here for a moment. Let us look at this purely from the business side. A company lays off its white-collar workers. They replace those workers with AI. The company saves a huge amount of money. Their profits go way up. The boss is happy. Isn't that a good thing for the overall economy, I mean?
Well, you would think so, right? If companies are rich and saving money, the economy should be strong. But Simon and Mia discovered a massive problem with that logic.
And what do they call that problem?
They called it the negative feedback loop.
The negative feedback loop. That sounds very technical. Let us unpack that together.
It is a concept from systems thinking, but in economics, it basically describes a chain reaction, like a circle, where one bad thing causes another bad thing, which then makes the first thing even worse.
Can we walk through this loop slowly?
Yeah.
Because I really want to make sure I understand how a company saving money can actually hurt the whole economy.
Absolutely. Let us break it down step by step. Imagine a circle. Step 1. Companies use AI to do the work. They lay off thousands of employees to save money.
Okay, step 1 is clear. The company spends less money on human salaries.
Right. Step 2. The company is very happy. But look at the workers. They have just lost their jobs. Now, step 3. Who actually buys the products that the company makes?
Well, people do. Customers buy the products.
Exactly. But who are those customers? Customers are just people with jobs. If you lay off the workers, you are actually laying off your own customers.
Oh, I see the connection now. If I lose my job today, I stop spending money tomorrow.
Right. And that is step 4. The unemployed workers have no income. So they stop buying new clothes, they cancel their Netflix subscription, they stop going out to eat at restaurants, they definitely do not buy new cars.
That makes total sense. I would do the exact same thing. If I had no job, I would save every single penny I had.
We all would. So then we hit step 5, the other businesses in the town. The local restaurants, the clothing shops, the car dealerships, they start losing money.
Why? Because nobody's buying anything from them.
Exactly. Which leads to step 6. Because those local shops are losing money, they have to lay off their workers too. And the loop just goes around and around, getting worse each time. The big tech company thought they were saving money, but by firing their workers, they accidentally helped destroy the entire economy that buys their products.
That is the negative feedback loop. The company tries to become more efficient, but they actually break the whole system.
Exactly. It is a total paradox. AI makes creating things very cheap, but it might make buying things impossible.
It is heavy.
It is. And Simon and Mia pointed out some specific industries that would get hit really hard by this loop.
I mean, they mentioned travel, right? And insurance.
Yes, those two, for sure. But the one example that really stood out to me from the text was housing.
Oh, housing is huge. Buying a house or an apartment is the biggest expense for almost every family.
Think about how the housing market actually works. Why are houses so expensive? Because people have steady jobs that allow them to get a mortgage.
Let us quickly define that for our listeners. A mortgage.
A mortgage is a very big loan from a bank, specifically to pay for a house.
All right, you promise the bank, I have a steady job, so I will pay you back a little bit every month for the next 30 years.
Exactly. But in this new AI economy that the article describes, if white-collar jobs are disappearing, or even if people are just worried about being laid off, the bank will not give them a loan.
Because the bank does not trust that they will have an income.
Right. Or people simply will not try to buy houses because they're too scared of the future.
And if no one buys houses, what happens?
Then house prices fall. They crash. And if housing prices crash, regular people lose all their savings. It affects absolutely everyone, even the people who still have their jobs.
This all leads us to that one very big, very scary word that was used in the source text. It starts with an R.
Yes.
Recession. We hear this word on the news all the time, especially when talking about money. But let us define it clearly for our listeners. What exactly is a recession?
A recession is, quite simply, when the whole economy shrinks. It gets smaller instead of growing larger.
And what does that actually look like in real life for a normal person?
It generally has two main characteristics. First, high unemployment. That means a very large percentage of the population wants to work but cannot find a job.
Okay, high unemployment. And the second characteristic.
Less spending. Money just stops moving around the city.
The dialogue in our source material had a really interesting part about this. They talked about person A and person B exchanging money.
Yes, that was a wonderful illustration by Simon and Mia. They focused heavily on the word spending. Spending is the engine of the economy. Your spending is my income.
So if I buy a cup of coffee from you, you now have money to go buy bread from the baker.
Exactly. And if you lose your job and stop buying coffee from me,
Then you do not have money for bread.
and the baker does not sell his bread, the spending just completely stops. And that is exactly what a recession feels like. It feels like the engine of a car has just been turned off.
Okay, I have to be completely honest with you right now. We have talked about some very heavy things today.
We have.
We've talked about laying off workers, negative feedback loops, housing crashes, and recessions. It feels a little gloomy. It feels a little dark.
It does feel dark, and Simon and Mia actually acknowledged that in their conversation. It is very easy to look at all this economic data and just feel hopeless.
So I have to ask you, is there any good news here? Is AI just all bad?
I am so glad you asked that, because the answer is no. It is not all bad. Halfway through the source material, Simon and Mia changed the direction of their conversation. They started talking about hope.
Oh, thank goodness. What is the positive side of all this technology?
The positive side really comes down to one incredibly powerful concept. It is a word that describes human history perfectly: adaptation.
Adaptation. That is a very strong English word. Before we define it fully, what were the specific good things they mentioned about AI?
Well, first of all, AI can actually make us much better at the jobs we keep. Mia specifically mentioned doctors and teachers.
Okay, let us imagine a doctor.
Right. A doctor is brilliant, they studied for years, but they cannot possibly read every single new medical journal in the world.
No, there just is not enough time in the day. No human being can read that much information.
Exactly. But an AI program can read everything instantly. So if a doctor uses AI as a partner, as a tool, They might find a rare disease much faster.
They might save a patient's life that they could not save before.
Yes, and that is undeniably a good thing.
That is very true. So the AI is not just replacing us. It can actually help us be better humans.
Yes. And Simon also pointed out a historical fact: technology always destroys old jobs. That is true, but it also always creates new jobs that we could not even imagine before.
That is right. He used a very specific job title in the text that I had actually never heard before. Prompt engineers.
Yes, prompt engineers.
What on earth is a prompt engineer?
Well, think about how you actually talk to an AI on your computer. You have to type a request into a box. That written request is called a prompt. Okay. Like if I type, "Write me a funny poem about a cat." Exactly, that sentence is your prompt. But talking to an AI is not always that easy if you want a really complex professional result.
Because if you ask a vague question, you get a vague answer.
You get a terrible answer usually.
Yeah.
So a prompt engineer is a skilled professional who knows exactly how to speak to the machine. They know the exact words to use to get the best possible result from the AI.
They're kind of like translators.
Yeah.
Translators between the human brain and the artificial intelligence.
That is a perfect way to describe it. They are translators.
So 10 years ago, that job absolutely did not exist. Nobody was a prompt engineer. And now it might be a very important, high-paying career.
Exactly. And this brings us right back to that powerful word we mentioned, adapt.
Let us talk about that word. In the source text, there was a little moment between two friends. Friend A was very scared, saying, "I might lose my job." And friend B gave some wonderful advice.
Friend B said, "Change can be hard, but we adapt."
Change can be hard, but we adapt. It is a beautiful sentence. What does it mean to adapt?
To adapt means to change your behavior or to learn new skills so that you can fit into a new situation. It is essentially about survival.
Can you give our listeners a simple analogy to help them visualize what it means to adapt?
Sure, I can do that. Think about the weather. Imagine you wake up in the morning, you look outside, and it is pouring rain.
Okay, it is raining hard.
You have two choices. Choice one, you can stand by the window, get very angry, shout at the clouds, and just wish the rain would stop.
That does not sound very effective at all. The rain does not care if you are angry.
No, the rain does not care. Or choice two, you can adapt. You can put on a raincoat. You can take an umbrella. You can change your plans and stay inside. You survive the rain by changing how you interact with it.
I love that comparison. So in this new economy, we cannot stop the AI from coming. The rain is already falling. The technology is already here.
Yeah, being angry at the computer will not save your job, but we can adapt.
We can put on a raincoat.
Exactly. We can learn how to use these new tools. We can look for those new types of jobs like prompt engineering. We can focus on our human skills like empathy and creativity, because the machines are still very bad at empathy.
It is about being active, not passive. It is about preparing yourself for the future.
Precisely. Mia said it best in the text. Curiosity is the antidote to fear.
That is such a great point. And actually, I want to take a moment here to look at the language Simon and Mia used, specifically the emotions. Because if our listeners are ever in a conversation about AI, they need to know how to express how they feel in English.
That is a very good idea. The text really covers the whole spectrum of human emotion.
At the start of the article, Simon says he is worried. Friend A says they are scared. These are very strong negative adjectives.
They are strong. But remember, Mia, she used a different word. She used the word curious.
Curious.
Curious implies that you want to learn more. It opens the door to the future instead of closing it.
I think being curious is the absolute best mindset to have right now. If you are curious, you are constantly learning.
We also pulled out some very useful everyday phrases from the source material for our listeners to practice. If you are, say, at a dinner party and you want to start talking about this topic, what can you say?
One very common, very natural phrase from the text is, "What do you think about?" Mia actually asks, "What do you think about AI?"
It is the perfect conversation starter in English. You can use it for anything. What do you think about the news? What do you think about the economy? It politely invites the other person to share their opinion.
And if you want to express a fact, you can use the simple structure, "it creates," Simon said. It creates new jobs.
Very simple, very effective. And finally, my absolute favorite phrase from the entire text, the one about human resilience. Change can be hard, but we adapt.
You can use that phrase in so many different life situations. Moving to a new city. Change can be hard, but we adapt.
Learning English. It is hard, but we adapt.
Exactly. So let us bring this all together now. We have covered a lot of ground in this deep dive today.
We really have. We learned that AI stands for artificial intelligence. which means smart computers that can do cognitive or thinking work.
We learned that white-collar office jobs are the ones most at risk this time around because companies are prioritizing efficiency to save money.
We explored the fairly scary concept of the negative feedback loop. If companies lay off too many people, customer spending dries up, and we could face a global recession.
But we also learned that it is not the end of the world. Humans are absolute masters of adaptation. We can change, we can learn new roles like prompt engineering, and we can use these tools to make our lives better.
It is a delicate balance. The future is not written yet. It all depends on how we respond today.
You know, even though we are just analyzing a text here for English learners, this topic is really about all of our lives. It is about your future, my future, and the listener's future.
It really is, and it actually raises a deep philosophical question, a thought that I think we should leave our listeners with today.
Oh, I always like a good closing question to think about. What is it?
Well, the source text mentions repeatedly that AI can make life easier. It can do the boring work, it can write the long reports, it can do the complex math.
Right, it takes away the heavy lifting.
So imagine a future, maybe 10 or 20 years from now, where AI does almost all the white-collar work. If we humans do not have to spend 40 hours a week sitting at a desk just to earn a salary, what does that leave for us?
Oh, wow. That is a deep question. If our job is not our identity anymore, then who are we?
Exactly. If we somehow solve the money problem, which is a very big if, but if we do,
Hmm.
how do we adapt our lives to find meaning? Do we spend more time with our families and friends? Do we make more art? Do we learn languages just for the pure joy of it?
That is something I want everyone listening right now to think about. In a world where the computer does all the work, what do you actually want to do with your time?
Maybe that is the real challenge of the future. Not just finding a new job, but finding a new purpose.
That is beautifully said. Thank you so much for guiding us through this text today. This is a truly fascinating discussion.
It was my absolute pleasure.
And to our listeners, do not be afraid to use the new English words you heard today. Practice saying recession, layoff, and adapt. And next time you see your friends, ask them, what do you think about AI?
We would love to hear your answers too.
Thank you so much for listening to The Deep Dive. We'll see you next time.